Okay, Becca, we're back.
We're
How's it
back.
going? We're back. Welcome to Chaos Agents.
Welcome to Chaos Agents, where the agents get chaotic, everyone.
Just get chaotic. How are you doing? How's your week?
Week's been great. Week's been great. What's been going on? Oh. Oh.
I'm
I
excited.
saw a wild and amazing movie this week.
What was it? Tell me about this.
Weapons.
In the movie theater? In the
In
movie?
the movie
You bought a
theater
ticket.
in
You sat in a
AMC
theater.
Newport, Jersey City, baby. And um I still love seeing a movie in a movie theater. Such a great experience.
Yeah.
Um
How'd you like the movie?
oh, I loved it. And I know it's like a little polarizing. Some people
Okay.
loved it, some people didn't like it.
Mm-hmm.
Um the For those of you who have never seen it or haven't heard about it, the general category is like horror, psychological thriller, but more horror. It's like
Yeah.
there's some jump scares.
I was gonna
It's
ask, were there
pretty
jump scares freak me out.
there oh, there are definitely some jump scares. There's some like really gory shit. But the acting is amazing. Like every aspect of the movie, so high quality. Acting, cinematography, script. Um, I haven't read the script, but I mean like the dialogue.
I mean, you saw the script.
Even like the way that the movie is kind of done, which I won't say much more because I don't want to like spoil it for people. It's like very creative. It is long and it is intense. So like if you're gonna go see it, strap in. It took me about 2 hours to come down from
Oh,
like
really? You just like walk in, you're like,
I was I from the walk from the movie theater back to my car, I was just like laughing kind of uncontrollably about nothing. My
yeah.
emotions were just so out of whack. My adrenaline was like all over the place. But it was great.
That is great. All
How
right,
was your
so
week?
recommend. My week is going good. I'm well, no, you're not supposed to say going good. Well, I am in upstate New York with my partner's parents. And actually we had a conversation last night that I feel like is really relevant to the stuff that we're talking about and really
Awesome.
interesting. I had some data to bring. They're both psychiatrists, and they have been in the world of science for a long time. And my partner is also a programmer, so we were kind of like talking through the wild change that we've been like seeing in the world of technology, like that we haven't experienced. My partner thinks it's like, I think it's the biggest thing since the internet. Like the internet, like when you look at like engineers pre-internet and the world pre-internet and the post-internet, like so different. Um, Other folks say like personal computing, like this is the biggest thing. Like you could have a computer in your home,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that all those things are true. I think, and they were talking about how in science, this kind of thing happens all the time. So much so that they have a framework for it. There's a book that a doctor named Thomas Kuhn wrote called Paradigm
Ooh,
Shift. And so that like
okay.
paradigm shifts in the world and like how people receive them and like the behavior that you see around them. Which like, and so we like talked about it and I found it so interesting. He talked about in his book, I want to read his book, but in his book, he talks about like how when like one paradigm dominates, like scientists work within it, they solve the puzzles, and like there's like anomalies in it, but they like are assumed to be solvable into a point where there's a crisis where anomalies accumulate. You like there's just like all these scientific anomalies that can't be explained consistently, and like alternative theories aren't getting traction, and then a new paradigm emerges and it replaces the old one, and it requires a shift in worldview to like everyone involved.
Mm.
And it talks a lot about like the sociology of these things, how like some people will hold on to the past ideas so much so and like dig in their heels, and like it causes them to like get frustrated and angry, or how some people are just more successful at solving puzzles because they love this like new world, and
Hmm.
it really seemed fascinating and applicable to the world of like AI and how much it's evolving.
That is really fascinating, and I'll read that book with you because
Yeah.
I'm always thinking of or I'm always trying to like put what we're experiencing today in some sort of context of like history.
Yeah.
Um, a history that I didn't personally live through. So it's like
Yeah.
hard kind of, you know? Like
Yeah.
I was born in 1991, and so I
Crazy.
grew up with a personal computer. I mean, I'm young and I'm old enough to remember when we got our first personal like home PC. It was a compact Presario, and I remember
Mm.
it was like a big deal. And then I'm old enough to remember that for Hanukkah one year, my dad got a CD burner drive that we had to like install in the thing. Like,
Yeah.
but I would still consider myself like of an internet native generation
Yeah.
and largely frankly like smartphones too, even though the iPhone didn't come out until I was in high school, I think, but you know, it's still like it's so
Yeah.
such a part of things now. But like I always wonder what, to your point on like personal computing is a great example. Like, or actually the internet is about, well, I'll say personal computing because in my mind, like that's when the internet became accessible to like normies.
Yeah.
We'll say it that way.
Yeah.
My guess is, and I know like some historical reference for this, there was a lot of similar fear from like different industries and legacy players of like
Oh yeah.
this paradigm shift, what does this mean for me? Like,
My
you
career,
know,
my life. Yeah.
education is a really good one. I have a lot of
Yeah.
friends who are teachers, and we were having a conversation. I was having dinner with a couple of friends the other day who both are high school teachers. One
Oh,
teaches English,
fascinating.
one
Oh,
teaches
so their
history.
students are like in there.
Yes, and
Yeah.
I was like, "What are you guys doing these days in terms of like approaching like?"
Yeah.
Because you're both teaching classes that are very word based. Like there's a lot of essays that students are writing. How do you tackle this? And it's so
Yeah.
interesting.
What did they
They're like,
say?
well,
Yeah.
so they're like, when a student, when a student in one of their classes has to write an essay, they have to um, write it in a Google Doc and share the Google Doc with the teacher so you can
History.
see the revision history and see like what they're writing in real time. So it becomes really obvious if they're like copying and pasting like massive blocks of text. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that they can't just be reading and typing,
Yeah,
right?
that's the first thing I thought of. Oh, I just have like two browsers open and I'm just
Sure. So then they were like, they were like, honestly, it's a lot more obvious than you would think to be able to
mm.
discern between like something a student wrote and something ChatGPT wrote. One,
Yeah, the students like,
students make
how
a,
do I find the M dash? What
yeah,
is
they were like, students make a lot more spelling and grammatical errors. They're like,
yeah.
if they're writing something from ChatGPT, it has almost no spelling or grammatical errors. And then Leah was like, can they prompt ChatGPT to be like, put enough errors in here that it like seems legit? And we did the experiment at the table. We were like, give us like one of the essay, like an essay prompt that you asked your kids,
Yeah.
your students to write. And Leah gave it to ChatGPT or Claude or something and was like, riddle this with enough errors. And like, it still like was pretty perfect. There were a
Oh, okay.
couple, but it was like hard to prompt it to
Yeah.
like do something not right.
Yeah.
um but I digress. My point here was I said to them like I wonder if teachers in the 90s, late 90s had a similar fear of like students can look up anything on the internet now. Like
Yeah. And copy
they're
it.
going to
Like,
they're not
yeah.
going to learn shit. They're going to plagiarize everything. And
They're
like
just gonna copy paste articles. Yeah, 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 yeah.
and things have adapted to like account for that new paradigm.
Yeah.
And so
And it's similar
maybe
to like calculators. Like, like I always think about this, like
mm,
when calculators came out, like teachers were like, they're never gonna know math. They'll like, I like this is like, I feel like that's always a concern of like, is it like too easy for them? And it turns out like we can now just do more math and you can learn more math because you have these very complicated calculators.
I just this week was listening to a really interesting talk kind of related to this.
Yeah.
Um it was about it was about like the impact of um, our use of AI to learn now and its impact on our ability to remember things.
Mm.
So it looked into the history of like rote memorization. Like
Yeah. Oh, fascinating. Yeah, yeah.
why was that why is that so much of the way that like
Think
education
about this
has been
all the
taught,
time.
right?
And like rote
And
memorization at like for a 4 year period or like
yes.
a X-year period and then go off.
And it was like the person who was giving this talk had such an interesting historical um like tied this to such an interesting historical evolution thing that I'd never connected the dots on. It kind of blew my mind. He was like, you know, in medieval times, like before the printing press, or even just at the beginning of the printing press, like
Yeah.
people didn't really have books. Or if they did, they were like really expensive. And
Oh,
so
yeah.
people would have to memorize things because either they would only have access to that thing for a certain amount of time. And like that was literally how they could like transfer the data from the thing they
Yeah.
were looking elsewhere. Or it was someone teaching a text to a group of people and they can't send you home with a copy. So they're like, let me instill this information into your brain so that like you can go off. And then it was like, then once books, text, information is at everyone's disposal, um, the need for rote memorization isn't quite the same. And so it went into like, what is learning actually? What's the difference between like
Yeah.
memorizing something and like actually retaining a concept or an idea? Anyway, it was fascinating.
Fascinating. Oh, that's really interesting. Yeah, it's. I think this obviously we're going to see the world of education change, and a lot of things that I've been reading up a lot. We'll talk about our guests in a second, but I've been reading up a lot this week about like people that are like not classically trained engineers or don't have a career in engineering, building with AI. And the fascinating thing to me that every time I look for these articles is the articles that come up are like, are developers going to have a job? Like this is like, are there
Hmm.
going to be engineering jobs? Are all developers' jobs going to go away? Which like I think in these like paradigm shifts, people are always worried about that. Like I like if you think of the internet, like when people started coding in HTML, people that had been building before that were like, that's not coding. Like what you're doing is not coding. This is trash.
Really?
Like, yeah, oh yeah, they were like, that's not what you do. Like, this is not even a coding language. Like, this is not like what you do isn't code. And even JavaScript, which is when JavaScript first came out in the '90s, people were like, everyone was building with Java, and so they were like, oh, this is like this. It's kind of like play coding, like it's not real code. And now like everything's built in
So
JavaScript.
funny.
But what we've seen like in those cases of like
Hmm.
is there's still those people, like companies still needed those people to work on Java. And I'm trying to think of like some of the old systems that people like SAP was like a system that every company like ran their databases on forever, and they had these huge machines, and for like there's still SAP developers out there, so like these jobs don't go away. But the thing I think we're excited to talk about this week is the people that have been empowered to build with this new world of AI. I think that's been really interesting to watch.
Okay, let's talk about this a little bit because I think like my hypothesis, and then you're going to tell me if this is true or not because I'm making an assumption
Yeah.
about you that you need to say whether it's accurate. I think that you and I are both representative examples of those types of people, but in different categories.
Oh,
So,
fascinating. Talk about this. Yeah.
okay, so before AI, you could code. You're
Yeah.
an engineer, you know how to write code, you are a technical person, you understand um, you know, how to build a technical product largely. My question, the reason I'm making this assumption, and my question to you is the thing you've been working on most recently,
Yeah.
this project you've been working on, which I won't go too much into detail and you can share as much as you want, but like it
Yeah.
utilizes AI in some way. Do you think that before Cursor, before Claude Code, before Claude, before ChatGPT, you could have built that? Um, or at least could you have built that in as short an amount of time as you did?
That's the thing. Yeah. So what I've been working on is like a crypto auto trading engine. I could like just like we'll talk about that more, I'm sure, but just like to put it in a uh like a
Yeah, yeah,
short
give like a,
synopsis.
just a super like, a TLDR of kind of like what it does.
Yeah, TLDR, it makes investment decisions on its own using meme coins and buys and sells them based on based on uh, lots of different factors. And it's been really neat. I'm now making a third of my salary, which is very cool. And so far, I'm on 22% profit in the past quarter. So that's pretty exciting. But that's been really cool to build. And the thing about it is, I could have built this before. As an individual person, it would have taken me probably 5 years, like 5 years, 3 years, 3 years. I think 3 years, I could have done it in 3 years. It would take a team of 10 people to do it in the time. I, it would take a team of 10 people that actually had built in crypto before. Because the thing about like building in crypto, it's just like a very different world. And there's all these things you have to learn about, like dexes and contracts and how they work, and like different chains, and like how to build for different chains. Because like this particular tool, like buys and sells on three chains, like Base, Solana, and Ethereum, and which have different roles on their own. So
Mm.
like doing all those things, it would have taken forever. Yeah.
So that's like a great, yeah. So like didn't necessarily, like I would still say that it made something that wasn't feasible. It was
Wasn't
possible, but
feasible.
it wasn't feasible.
I never would have taken it on. Yeah, I was not going to like put the next 3 years into something
Yeah,
that I didn't
right,
know would work.
exactly. Um, Possible for you, which is
Yeah.
incredible. And then I'm at the sort of a different end of the spectrum of like, okay, before LLMs came out, I had enough knowledge to, I had worked with technical teams for 10 years building products. I know, high level information about different coding languages, different architectures, how databases work, what an API is, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Um, I can write HTML, CSS, very basic JavaScript, kinda, and some React. Although, like, I can write it, and then 3 months later, I'm like, I don't remember how to do
What is this? Yeah. Yeah.
that.
I think that's everybody.
So because I'm not doing it every day, right? And
Yeah.
I and historically, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm someone who has a lot of ideas and likes to like wants to try and build them into a thing. And one of the things Bethany talks about, our amazing guest today, that I very much relate to is, and I think this might be felt even more by women in this field, is being both like non-technical and being a woman. You sort of feel I've felt undervalued, or like sort of dismissed as like
Mm.
not, I don't know what word to use, but like it just kind of makes you feel like,
You don't
damn,
know
I'm
enough.
not taken as seriously
Yeah. Yeah.
as
Yeah.
I want to be. Um, and so those are the two areas that I have felt the most change in. One, being able to like actually create and ship ideas that I have in my head without needing to spend like 3 weeks first doing like a React tutorial and then like
Yeah.
figuring out how to. That's aside from even like figuring out how to deploy something, or like
Oh
even figuring
yeah.
out how to connect it to a database. That's like a whole other thing.
Yeah.
So like build and ship ideas, which is so cool. And like not necessarily, I would say currently I still haven't built a web application that I would consider to be like production grade. Like I've built stuff that works. I've built stuff that we internally at Factorial use, Matt and I, every day.
Hmm.
And if there's a bug, it's not that big of a deal and I can fix it and it's fine because we're the only two users.
Yeah.
But um,
We have
I would,
users.
I have users. And then the second piece is like, Bethany talked about this too. Like, I think it makes it not only makes you able, has made me able, given me empowered me to build stuff, but it's like made it easier for me to actually learn like what I'm doing. Like,
Mm.
I can build something, and as I'm building it, like understand like what are we building? What are we putting together? How did
Yeah.
these two things work? What's hard about what we're doing? Like, why do we make this decision? Me and Replit. Why do we make this decision
Oh, I
and
say me
not
too. Yeah, yeah.
this? And um that's accelerated my learnings a lot too. Which has
Yeah.
been really cool.
That's really cool. And I like, I think that you're right with what you say of like, I think, so one thing, like I've been hosting a monthly dinner series for women that are building in AI. And I've learned so much from them. It's so cool to like get a group of women together and talk about what they're building. But one of the most interesting parts of it to me is every time I'm like, every time I invite someone new, I'm like, oh, I'm doing a dinner series with women in AI. And they're always like, oh, I don't know. Like, I'm not really in AI. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, what are you doing? And it's always like, oh, I'm like building this like whole like website and I've done like all these different things and like, but like, I'm not like in it. Or I've learned how to write Python and I'm doing like data analytics and all this. And I'm always like, yeah, okay, okay. I think you're an AI. I think you can come, which is like so fascinating. And Bethany she was not like, I'm not an AI because she's been working in it for a little while, but she's one of the people I love like getting updates from and like reading about because I've watched her like not feel confident at all technically to like start feeling very confident, which is cool. And then I think
Really
like
cool.
I think it's like the next step, right? Like the next step of like, oh, you're gonna have something production ready next.
I mean, that's the thing. Maybe we can talk about this like next week, but that's the thing I've been digging into and learning a lot more about over the last like couple of weeks in particular is like what currently is contributing to that gap? Like,
Mm.
why isn't it easy for anyone out of the box
Oh.
to like create, build and ship a production ready consumer grade
So you don't think
application?
it's a confidence issue? You think there's like a technical? I'm interested in this.
Correct. There's
Yeah.
there's uh, there's many reasons for this. Yeah, and we can get we should do we'll do like a whole preamble on this because I think this is something that's so interesting. I think
Yeah.
it will become possible eventually, but we're not there yet. And so I think that if like prediction, if you're someone who is like predicting, for example, that the impact of code generation products is going to
Mm.
be now anyone can build any business and no one needs engineers and you can just build a thing and ship it and like make money. I don't think we're at that future yet. I think
Oh, interesting.
potentially we will be,
What do
but
you think is the delta? Like, do you think it's longer conversation, or what do you think is the delta? Like, what do you think we need to get there?
I think, oh, there's it's a complicated answer. I think that LLMs, while they are really, really good in many ways at writing code, they're also like
Yeah.
not great at writing code,
Okay.
meaning, or I should say, not great at iterating on code. So,
Mm.
um, when you and again, they're like every company that has a product like this is constantly trying to figure out how to make this better.
Yeah.
But if you are working on a web app and you want to change one part of it and you're like, hey, like I actually want this drop down menu to pull from to make this API call and pull this list from this other third party thing. The LLM doesn't necessarily, it's not taking into account the full context of your app's architecture and how different pieces interact
Mm.
with other
Because it
pieces
can't.
because
Right.
it
It can't
can't.
get like context window. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So there's like bugs, there's tech debt. This is one of the reasons why it's really hard to fix bugs in an LM. Like if you've ever had this experience where you're
Truly.
like still getting this error,
It
what
gaslights
should we
you.
do? And it's like perfect. I've solved it perfectly and you're like still getting the error.
Gemini's the worst at this. Gemini's like, we did it.
It's always like, I did it perfectly. And you're like, okay, calm down.
None of it works.
It's still broken.
Yeah.
Um, I think that's a piece. I think there's also a lot of components. Like building really good software is not easy. It
It's
is,
not.
there's a reason why like technical teams at companies that are building and shipping software that is scaled to many, many people are big. Like there's a
Yeah.
lot that goes
Yeah.
into that,
So many
right?
people.
Like
Yeah, yeah.
we take it so for granted, but like
It's
I
so
was
true.
thinking about this the other day when I was using Slack. I'm like, Slack is an application that is used by well, millions, if not like I don't know, a billion people
Oh
now.
yeah.
So many people.
Yeah.
And it is extremely rare that like a part of my Slack isn't working or there's a bug or, like something goes wrong. And it just like hits me where I'm like, wow, to build and maintain a product that works that
Yeah.
well, that often for that many people is
What you have to think about.
fucking hard.
The
Yes.
weird edge cases. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And yeah,
Like
that's yeah, you're right.
observability.
AI is not good at that. Yeah.
No, observability, QA, like infrastructure. There's so many things that just are aside from like writing code, like writing
Yeah.
front end and back end code.
It's true.
Um,
And I imagine we'll continue to talk about this.
yeah, we will.
We'll watch. Okay, great. Well,
We'll watch and
I'm excited
see.
about it. Okay, great. Well, next up is here's Bethany. Okay, great. Great. So today we are excited to welcome Bethany Crystal to Chaos Agents, who is the founder and CEO of Build First AI.
Thanks for having
Bethany,
me.
welcome to Chaos Agents. Great.
What's
Thanks
up,
for coming.
Bethany?
So it's great to see you. Bethany, I've talked a little bit about our monthly Women in AI dinner. And one of the best parts of it has been watching your journey. You and I have known each other for a while, since way
hmm
back in the Stack Overflow days. Bethany and I both worked at Stack Overflow, but
I
not at
was
the
just
same
about to
time.
ask. Can you guys give us like the condensed version of your origin story?
Ooh.
Yeah, I was trying to remember how we met. It was early on, maybe in the Fog Creek days.
I knew of you as the one who was building jewel bots and really looked up to and admired your ability to be building community hardware and STEM-based educational tools for the next generation, and basically thought you were the coolest.
Oh, you're the coolest.
All very accurate.
That's great. And then we both worked at Stack Overflow, but our time didn't overlap,
Mm-mm.
sadly. Um, but we reconnected back in the world of AI after I saw you posting on LinkedIn about some of the things you were learning. Um,
And a brief
so
stint
wait,
in crypto.
a brief stint in crypto, yeah, and VC,
Yeah.
yeah, which was really neat to watch. I always really enjoy seeing people like Becca who are on their VC journey. It's really fascinating, and the things people learn and
hmm
how it actually uh, changes, like how they see the world a bit. I think it's very interesting.
Yeah.
Um,
My brain is permanently rewired in either the best or worst way. I can't really tell.
that's great. Well, the first
Probably
question we
both.
ask everyone, yeah, yeah, the first question we ask everyone that comes on the show is on a scale from 1 to 10, where like 10 is like um, you're living in this beautiful ideal world where AI helps you every day. You have an AI best friend who's a robot that lives across the street. It's a beautiful utopia. Um, and 1 is full Skynet. We are batteries for the machines.
Hmm.
How are you feeling about the world of AI right now?
Oh, I'm at like an 8 or a 9.
Yeah.
I'm very high on the techno optimist with AI bandwagon. In the past year in particular, AI has transformed my life. It has given me a new career as an entrepreneur that is building around AI, and it has saved my life. So I basically would not be here without AI right now.
Wow.
Yes, I
A
forgot
glowing
about this story.
review.
Okay, I'm flagging this story for us to come back to. First, can you tell us, and people are listening, a bit about your background, like where you started, like the early career journey, and like what got you here?
Yes, so I'm Bethany Crystal. I have spent 15 years working among technologists, but never as an engineer or a builder. I made the mistake of studying journalism and graduating from college in 2009 with a journalism degree right in the midst of the recession, and really had to learn the hard way how to pivot out of that type of role and industry from basically the day that I graduated. Um, at the time, I was also watching my dad, who'd worked his whole career in the auto industry, really struggle to find his next job after 30 years working at the same company, and realize that unless I could be a person that could pivot with agility in my career, I could end up like that too. So I've worked in startups like Stack Overflow on the sales and marketing org. I spent 5 years at Union Square Ventures where I ran their portfolio network and got to see how 100 different companies were run and managed and started. But I got really antsy after 4 or 5 years and just wanted to be back on the sort of like builder side of things. So for the last 4 or 5 years, I've largely been working independently. I'm sort of been taking myself on what I call like a CEO tour of duty, where I'm like doing like one job at a time, 6 to 9 month stints, like moving on to the next thing. And once I felt like I had like acquired enough like items in my toolkit in the RPG game of work life, I decided this year I could like start my own thing. So this year I started like building apps with AI. I have an app in the App Store right now. I've got another one I'm working on with a collaborator on the way, and now I'm running what I'm referring to as an AI learning lab, where I'm building AI native products, trying to get better every time. And then I'm also teaching people, particularly people like me who have never been technologists before, how they can get from 0 to 1 in building too.
That's amazing. Okay, I have a burning next question.
Please.
Um, so let me think about how to phrase this. So for most people today who are non-technical, but building technical products with code generation tools, myself included,
Mm-hmm.
um, it still feels basically impossible to build and ship a like production ready consumer grade product.
Yeah. Yeah.
Particularly on mobile, like an
Yeah. Yeah.
iOS native app.
Yeah.
How did you do it?
Okay. Um,
Walk us
this
through
is
the steps.
and this is like a weird place to start, but honestly, you have to start with intrinsic motivation, because if you do not have a will to build, you will give up when it gets hard. And for me, the intrinsic motivation has just been like years of feeling like a side quest player in this industry, where I've really just wanted to be able to add to the texture of what the internet looks like. And I built my first app out of a need of immense frustration, which is often where good ideas come from. I was solo parenting a lot this weekend, or every weekend this past fall, because my husband works in entertainment. He was really busy, and I had a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old. I get really overstimulated by just like the noise in the room. So I started taking them out with me to museums on the weekends a lot. But even kids at museums, like a lot of content at museums is not tailored to kids that are 2 and 4 who can't read yet. So I started using ChatGPT to take pictures of what I was looking at and say, like, write this for a 3-year-old. And then I would like explain it to them. And my founder friend was like, hey, you could really up level that by like just like adding in the 11 Labs API and like making an audio experience. And I was like, that's a great idea. And by that point, I'd been teaching people how to build conceptually with like custom GPTs and things, but I never built my own app before. But I just hit this peak moment of frustration in like December, and I was like, this is the weekend. I'm going to build an app. And I just started asking ChatGPT, here's what I want to build. How do I build it? And it was like, this will take you 3 weeks. And I was like, we have 3 hours. Like, let's go. And I like painfully was guided through the process of setting up my developer environment. I used Cursor. ChatGPT told me what to do. and we like fumbled through a front end interface for an app I now call MuseCat, which is an audio first family learning companion where you take pictures of stuff you're looking at. You can get your kids an audio first version of that thing that's tailored to their age. And there's a little meerkat character I invented like in the midst of this AI fever dream named Miko the meerkat that tells these stories. Um, that moment, it was like December 2024, and I was not even using Replit yet. And the thing that AI told me to build was a Flask web app, which you probably are laughing at because that's a very bad choice for building something, as I've learned later. Um, and about like 48 hours later, I ended up like talking about it with several people, and one of them was like, "Well, this has to be a mobile app. Can you build a mobile app?" And I was like, I barely was able to build this web app. Like, how are you already asking me to build this into a mobile app? Um, but it was like a great piece of advice, and so I tried with some of the current tools. At the time, there weren't a lot of options. I tried like with Devin AI, and I tried a couple of other things. And ultimately, I was like, if I'm going to try and go all in on this, I need a developer to help me. So I hired a freelance developer, but I hired them in a really different way. And what we did was every week we like would look at the code base together. He would show me what he built. I would record the conversation, and
Wow.
then I would transcribe that recording and have the AI explain it to me. And then I built a custom GPT trained on my AI recordings of this developer explaining my code base to me and the library of a syllabus of CS 101 technical architecture. So I
Can I
called it
ask
like
you a
my,
very quick question?
yes,
When
yeah.
you say trained on, do you just mean like uploaded as context, like
Yeah,
files?
that's
Okay,
right.
I
So I
see what you
built a
mean.
custom GPT that was it had like the syllabus of like a CS 101 class that had the architecture of my code base, and every week I was just dumping in like more product specs and business guides. So I would say to it, if I wanted to build this feature, how would I do that? And it would explain it to me with these like basic terms, and then I would sort of use that. So that was like the sort of first interpretation layer that was really helpful. And with that developer's help, we got it in the App Store, and I was able to like make some changes to it. But I also actually realized that I got a little bit too far away from the code base itself in that process, and
Hmm.
I hit a point where I was like, I actually need to like remake this entire app better.
When you say you got too far away from the code base, what do you mean?
Um, I actually feel like I let too much of it happen without me being there because
Without you having a hand in what was being
yeah.
changed. I see.
And I think like one of the things that was really great was I was able to use AI to both interpret the new code base, which is now like a React native app in iOS. I was using Claude to make the wireframes, and then I was like updating those wireframes with the mobile screens. So we like built the whole thing together. But um, what was interesting was he was a classically trained engineer, so we built like a classically trained engineering architecture for it using
Mm.
AWS. And that is still like
Fascinating.
that's a really inaccessible tool for me. Okay,
Super
so
inaccessible. Even
every
for some
time
engineers, it's pretty wild.
yeah, every time I need to like make a change, I was like holding my breath and going into like the AWS console. I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna fuck up this S3 bucket. I don't know. Like it was just like really, really
Oh
scary
my
for me.
goodness, he had you using
In
it.
your
Yeah, that's
defense, the
fast.
UI of that console is like the scariest
Like
looking
all the
thing
I
anyone
ams
has
and all
ever
the I was
seen.
just like, oh my God. So I was just like having like anxiety crises every time. And people would say things to me like, oh, just put it on Supabase and Vercel. But like at the time that just like I just didn't even really understand what it meant to like host a
Like, is that
website
easier? Like,
or like
what are these
manage a
words you're
database
saying? Yeah,
migration. And
yeah.
I tried to build some stuff on V0, but like it didn't really click for me. So after that period, I was trying to make a bunch of edits after that engineer helped me get it live, and I got kind of stuck. And I started just like posting these blog posts about like how I was really stuck vibe coding, and sort of serendipitously, this other guy reached out and was like, "I'm doing one-on-one coaching for people. Are you interested?" And I was like, "Yes." So I started paying for
Now, was
one-on-one
he
first
like,
coaching.
sorry, he was someone you didn't know?
Yeah, he's
And do you
someone
think
who
he was looking, or did you know him? Like, do you think he was looking for tweets of people who are like struggling in this way,
I
or is
asked
it
him
someone
that.
that like, yeah,
I had interviewed him as another possible engineer to build the mobile
Mm,
app version for me and ended up not going with him because he was more like AI consulting forward as opposed to like mobile app developer. But what
Mm.
we did was every week, you know how they have like executive coaching for CEOs who like learn how to work with their executive teams? He was basically giving me like executive coaching for AI. So he was helping
Mm.
me learn how to work with AI week after week after week. It felt like a cross between therapy and like technical training, which was very
wild.
interesting.
Not
Um,
to get you too off track, but
yeah.
can you share with us like one thing that he taught you
Mm.
that you didn't
hmm
know previously that kind of like really was a game changer in how you were going about developing the
Yeah.
app?
Yes. So what he taught me was how, so by that point, I had learned from other engineering friends to set up things like PRDs, product requirements documents, which I had never even done before. Um, and I knew about them, but I didn't know how to make them well. And he would send me these prompts that were like technical architecture review prompts and showed me basically how to dump an idea that I had, use the prompt, the system prompts that he provided, and then get asked a
Mm.
bunch of really targeted, specific questions back from the AI before I started the build. Because the problem was, I basically was like scoping way too big features, doing way too many things at once without like a real understanding of the architecture. So it would reply with like 10 questions. And even though I don't always know the answer to the questions, I would take those answers, run those through an AI, and then have it give me the pros and cons for each thing. And I've worked among technologists enough that I can like weigh a pros and cons list. So then I
Mhm.
would start from a much smarter place, get like a markdown file of the thing we're building, and then we would drop that into like Claude code and start to go to town.
Very
Okay, so,
cool.
so then um how did you get a mobile app that was ready to be submitted and accepted by the App Store? Because that is a whole other
So
beast
long.
unto itself.
Yeah, it's really annoying actually. It's really
Yeah,
really annoying.
been
So
there.
I mean, I'm about to do it again too, but this time I'm doing it faster and better and smarter and with a different collaborator. And I'm not losing touch of the code base the same way, so it's going to be much easier. Um, I mean, I had to really just do it the hard way, right? I created an account in test flight. I like pushed through all of the nonsense there. I made terms and conditions and a privacy policy. I did get some legal sign off, but I made the original versions with ChatGPT and some samples that I'd had. Um, I had to like figure out how to get all the like screenshots built. It asked a lot of questions about data management and privacy, and I frankly didn't understand a lot of those, but I was like, again, going back and forth, I would often either ask the developer who I was working with or ask my AI to read the code base and answer questions for me and then like go back and forth. And we had to like make a change because I allowed like authn with Google, and you can't allow authn with Google unless you also allow authn with Apple. So we had to go do a whole other series and get like iCloud login
For the
so
App Store, so if like
yeah,
if I submit an app through the Apple App Store that has Google Auth, I have
yeah,
to add.
you
That's
do.
fascinating.
You do, but they actually aren't allowed to say that. They say it in this like very obscure way that you have to like dive into random internet forums and realize that actually what they're describing is the functionality of an iCloud like login with Apple, but they can't say
Mm.
that. Um, so there's
Fascinating.
just like all these like stupid, silly little things. Um, yeah, and
How
I've also
many? Oh,
how
go
many
ahead.
what?
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, how many submission attempts did it take initially to get it approved?
I think it took me 3 submission attempts to get it approved.
Okay, frankly, that's kind of impressive.
Is that
Cause
It
like,
really is.
yes, like I mean, I've worked at companies, I've worked on iOS apps that are, you know, have giant engineering and product teams around it where we're resubmitting things multiple times. So
Oh,
like
really?
that's pretty cool. I mean, I'm sure there's caveats here.
Yeah.
I'm assuming this was like only available in the US,
Yes, it's only in the US. It's
only
18
in the
and
US,
up. Yep.
English only.
English only.
Yeah. So certain things like that I think make it easier because you don't have to deal with things like localization and
I can't
all
do
that stuff.
GDPR. I was like, I just can't, right?
But still, that's really cool.
Thank you.
Do you feel like what is your on this journey like before? What is your confidence now when you sit down like in front of a keyboard and you're like, I want to build this thing? Like, what is it? How would you compare that to like a year ago?
Well, I know how to get started and I know I have the developer environment set up, right? Because the first few times I tried to build something, it really reminds me of having like a newborn baby. Like I think this is like a little bit extreme maybe sounding, but I've had two babies and I distinctly remember the feeling of having my first baby handed to me in the hospital and me just looking like shocked and confused. And they were
Like,
like,
who did
"Wake
this?
up. Are you okay? This is your baby. You birthed it." And like I literally was that confused. Like the day after I built my first app and like people would say to me like you built an app and I'd be like, "No, no, this isn't an app. This is just like a website that does a thing, you know." It like just like didn't like compute to me and I was just like scared. I was like scared to and with the baby I was like scared to like feed it the wrong way. I was like scared to like hold her the wrong way. I was scared to like, you know, drop her or do some other stuff like that. And I just felt like a lot of that same sort of like worry with building. Oh, did I just lose video? Hang on.
That's okay. It froze for
Okay.
a sec, but it'll come
Okay.
back.
There's like a sign at the top that says actual recording is higher quality. I don't know how to feel about that, but
Great.
Um, Very quick question. Are you monetizing the app at all?
I am not. Oh, it says
Okay.
devices. Hang on. It says devices struggling to record. Try closing
Hmm.
other apps and tabs. Should I
Yeah,
do
take your
something
time.
different?
try closing other apps and tabs.
Let's see. I've been transcribing something in a terminal window this whole time, so I wonder if that's causing a little bit too much
Could be.
load. All right, every other app and
For what
tab
it's
is
worth,
happening.
we also are automatically creating and generating a
Okay,
transcript
it says
that we
we
can send
can't
to you.
access your video, but I can sort of see it now.
We can see you
Can you
now.
see it? Okay, great.
Yeah.
Um, Sorry, ask that
Monetization.
monetization. Okay, well, here's like the reality of what happened. And this is like so embarrassing. I got like basically locked out of my test environment for my production mobile app right now. So I cannot right now run a test environment of my live mobile app. So I've been afraid since like June to push any
To touch
changes
it?
to it. Yeah, I've been afraid to touch it
Yeah.
because everything I have to do has to happen on production. And it was in the middle of this process that I met a friend this summer. I think I was literally saying, I want to pick up my laptop and throw it against the wall right now.
Mm, we've
And
all been there.
he was like, "Can I take a look?" And I was like, "Good luck. This is horrible." And we didn't end up like debugging the thing in real time, but it was the first time I'd like sat like next to another developer in the same physical space and like looked at the code base together.
Hmm.
And that experience was so helpful for me because again, as a non-engineer, I don't really know what I'm reading, so it was just like helpful to hear someone else look through it. And he's doing the really helpful thing that product managers do, which is to narrate out loud as they're sort of reading it. And like hearing someone else describe my code base back to me was like really, really helpful. So I've actually started to work more with this guy. His name is Matt Hamilton. And I was like, it's really helpful to hear you talk to me about this code. Um, and he has grown up in the like the pair programming era of work. So what we've been trying this summer is like pair prompting. So we have been building a new app together.
That's so
Um,
cool.
and we're like doing the thing that they would do at Pivotal Labs and like sit next to each other on the same code base. And like sometimes I'm driving and sometimes he's driving, but I get the benefit of like hearing his systems thinking and he gets the benefit of hearing my like, I don't know, like business product mindset. So now, even just from this experience, I'm like, I actually do think I have the confidence to refactor MuseCat, the mobile app, like completely on my own, which I definitely didn't have even like 3 months ago.
Cool.
Yeah.
That is that's a pair prompting is new.
Yeah.
Something I haven't heard about before. That's very
It's
cool
been it's
idea
been like
as
game
a way to
changing for
like
me.
learn
It's
from
very,
someone.
very cool. I
Yeah.
think it's actually the
Another
way
thing,
that technical and non-technical people could work together in the AI age.
yeah. Another thing I just want to point out from what you said, which I love, is you said the words sitting next to another developer, which
Mm.
I don't know if like, I'm out of turn for saying this, but I feel like Bethany a year ago would not have said things that way.
Yeah,
Would you
that's
agree
You
with
true.
mean
that?
she wouldn't have said another developer in
Another
Yeah,
addition to
developer,
myself?
definitely
which is
not. Definitely
so
not.
cool.
Yeah,
It's
that's true.
been so neat. One drum I beat like always is I've never, okay, I don't want to make this like we're three women here. I don't want to make this like all gendered conversations, but I've never had a man say to me, "I'm not technical." It is
Mm.
like a term I hear exclusively from women,
Yeah.
and I think it. And so I always get so excited seeing someone like you just being able to identify the developer because I like it's like watching your journey learn and
I
seeing the
mean,
things that you've built is so awesome.
I guess like I don't think I'm a developer, right? Like I actually don't even think I could get a junior level job as a
Well, I
developer
do.
because I can't actually like I like just learned what function calls are last week. Do you know what I mean? Like I just submitted my first PR like a month ago. Like I've been building stuff, but I haven't been doing it like a normal way.
Well, you bring up a good point, which is like the definition of what a programmer or a developer is. And I'm
Yeah.
specifically separating that from the word engineer. Like I
Hmm.
think engineer is different, but like developer and I mean, Sarah, I'm very curious to hear your take on this. But the definition maybe is in flux. Like what you just said, I think you were like, okay, I couldn't get hired by a company as a junior level developer. That might be true. That I probably would say the same thing. I don't think that necessarily means that you're not a developer
Mm.
because you are able to ideate, write, and ship code and create a product that people can use.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so
And
I don't
I
know.
would also say that, like, I imagine in the next year, like, the role of a junior developer is going to be so different
Hmm.
because, like, no, it is not at all useful. Hiring right now, it's not useful for me to hire someone that doesn't code with AI. Like, what are you going to do? You're going to sit there
Yeah.
writing functions by yourself as a human being? Like, you're going to be so slow. Like, the
Yeah.
most senior developers I know are using AI to code, and they might understand what's going on. They might understand better what to ask for or what to build. But I don't think the like definition of I've never thought of definition of a coder as like someone that was trained in computer science and now is a full role coding and building. But I also think in the next couple of years that the definition is going to change a lot.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I have a question for you about which you kind of touched upon a little bit, but I'm curious like how you think about it from like a business perspective. Um, we've talked a lot about like creating the app and getting it
Hmm.
out there. How do you think about maintenance and observability and bug fixes and customer
Yeah.
service and like making sure it keeps working for people? And if it doesn't, what do you do?
Yeah, I mean, well, there's the other like business case of this too, which is I built an app to help parents and their kids make sense of the world around them through audio first storytelling. And its primary use case that I built it for is for museums. And while I was also learning how to be a developer this year, I was like pounding the pavement on go-to-market to figure out who would buy this thing. And what I learned is there is not a single parent out there whose biggest pain point is, gee, I wish I could make sense of museums more with my kid, right? It's just like not the top of mind thing. Um, Sort of interested by schools, sort of interested by homeschools, definitely useful for museums, but how fast are museums in the buy cycle of AI adoption broadly, right? So all of this was sort of happening as I was sort of getting blocked technically, and that's when I sort of realized like June, July, I think I need to sort of like shelve it as a script, right? I'm sort of thinking of myself now as like a Broadway producer, where I'm like looking for shows, and sometimes I like buy the rights to a show, but I might not find a theater for it for a couple years, or maybe the audience isn't there yet. I still think the app is like a good concept, but maybe we're not in the market for it. Maybe I'm not ready for it. Maybe we need to have a world where every kid has wearables, because the iPhone is not even the best way to sort of make sense of that. So for right now, I'm not doing a lot of maintenance. I'm not doing a lot of work on it. Um, I'm I'm learning how to build it better the second time around, and I'm getting a rep at building a second app. So I've just
Mm-hmm.
been really trying to make up for lost time as a non-developer for so many years and just ship as much stuff as I can. So I've been building like a new app a week all
Amazing.
summer long. Not all of them are production ready at all, but every time I start a project, I take on a slightly more ambitious thing. So as I'm like learning how to build, hopefully I'll have like a collection of like apps over time, and we'll sort of figure out which one people want, if any.
Can I
Can't
just
wait.
quickly say, uh, there's one way to think about what you built and what
Hmm.
you're selling, let's say,
Yeah.
um, as something different than what you described. I'll tell you
Okay.
like how I heard it and this is very much colored by the origin story of it. You were like, I'm single parenting.
Hmm.
I'm driving myself crazy at home. I need to go out and take my kids to do something. I live in New York City. Let's go to a museum. I
Yeah.
went to the museum. This place isn't made for kids. Like, I
Yeah.
need something that really what you built is something that helps a, in this specific case, a parent like entertain their kids
Mm-hmm.
in this particular case in a way that is like locally relevant to them, like based on where they are.
Edutainment, if you will. Yeah.
Totally. And this was one specific,
Yeah.
implementation of what that is. But I could see if I had a parent in front of me and I was like, "Hey, would you buy an app that like describes paintings out loud to your kid at a museum?" They might be like, "I don't know, maybe. Like, I
No.
don't know if I
Yeah.
need that." But if you were like, "Hey, would you pay for something that makes it a lot easier for you to like entertain your 2 and 4-year-old on a Saturday when you're like going crazy?" The
Hmm.
answer might be yeah.
Yeah.
Like
It's
I
definitely a
definitely pay
much
like
more acute pain point to solve for. It really is.
That's great. So after all this, now you're teaching people like you how to build their first apps, and you've even put like a whole framework together for
Yeah.
them to think about how to approach this. How did that start, and how's that going?
Yes. So, I I did I'm not in my office right now, but if I were, you would see behind me like a list of like startup studio names, which I've just been like keeping on a whiteboard behind me over time, because I've been ever since working in VC, I've just been very excited about the idea of having like a portfolio of work. And ever since I started using AI, I've been asking the question, like, what does it look like to build a company in the AI age? What does that mean for the type of founder that might be invited to start companies in the AI age? And if someone like me can build apps who's never been able to build stuff before, who else is out there like me too? And could I help identify and support and help those people over time? So I've been very curious about what that means. And I think MuseCat was my first like attempt at figuring out what does it take to build a company from an AI first lens. I'm working on like another one now. And what I basically decided to do was like collapse MuseCat and these other projects under this umbrella container called Build First, which is like an AI learning lab where I'm building products and teaching people how to build products. And my hope is that I will be able to use the money from the services side of the business of building and training while I get good enough at building these apps and find other people who are building these apps to like really turn it into like an AI native app studio or a startup studio or something. But that's probably like a couple years out. So that's sort of the broader container, which I'm feeling pretty good about overall.
Very cool. And what have you've given a few of these workshops?
Mhm.
What are the most fun things you see people thinking about or building?
So I'm teaching a design thinking framework and using AI that I co-developed with Decoded Futures last year, which is a nonprofit that was created within Tech NYC to teach other nonprofits about AI adoption. And the framework is called Pop It, and it kind of helps you scope and frame a problem that's a good fit for AI. So it starts with identifying the problem, identifying the output of what you want the AI to do, figuring out the prompt, figuring out the inputs that you're going to put in, and then figuring out your testing framework. And from building custom GPTs to building my own app, like this is like, I come back to this all the time. So I teach people how to do that for themselves at their companies, individually. Yeah.
Sorry, Sarah, and I got very distracted by Pop It.
Like popping.
I do have a Jazz Age Pop It song I can send you.
Amazing.
How it
If
works.
not, we gotta create one Suno ASAP.
Yeah, it's a pseudo song.
That is really what you're creating, I think, is so valuable and so useful. And I think one of the things that's hardest for people is turning like ideas and processes into like a structured, digestible thing that is like repeatable and that you can latch onto. And people who are able to like distill that and create something like that, like you've made something so valuable.
It's not a perfect fit, but it really helps you like know what you're doing and why a little bit better.
Totally.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, AI saved your life.
It did.
What happened?
Okay, in conclusion, AI saved your life.
Yeah. I think
That's the
one of
title
the
of your memoir.
things about being, I've been working like mostly alone for like 4 years, and I always have too many ideas and doing too many things at once. But AI really helped me get ahead of myself for the first time because I actually can do 3 things at once. I can run 3 organizations at once with AI, and like I'm actually doing that right now. So I just like I got in this habit of using AI reflexively. So I really do use it for everything. And earlier this year, like about a month after I decided like go all in on entrepreneurship, I'd been having a lot of like stomach pain, and I went to the doctor, and
Interesting
he was like,
correlation there.
I know, he was like, I'm sure this is just like IBS. You're like so stressed to being an entrepreneur. I've seen
Every
this
founder listening to
before.
this right now is like,
My
yeah.
stomach also really
And I was,
hurts.
I was like, yeah, I'm sure I'm just like not used to this feeling. But like, why don't we, he's like, let's run some blood work anyway. And I was like, okay, cool. He's like, maybe you just like need to eat better. And I'm like, yeah, because I'm like drinking like caffeine, red wine, and like ramen. And that's like my diet right now. It was like not a good diet. But like it was just like getting worse and worse. And by the weekend, I was like really tired, and I started to get these like red dots all over my legs. And I was like up all night, and I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna ask ChatGPT. And I was like, ChatGPT, I'm like not feeling good. My doctor thinks it's IBS. Like, and it was like, oh, you should try low FODMAP diet. Let's go. But then these like dots were getting worse and worse. So I'm like taking pictures of the dots on my leg, and they're like, oh, like it could be some other problems too. Here's a list of those problems. Like one of them is, scurvy is an option. If you really have a vitamin C
You never
deficiency. And I
know.
was like, oh my God, I'm eating so poorly. Like this is like the founder mode diet. So I was like, maybe maybe I'm bringing scurvy back in 2025. So like go to the vitamin store, and I like buy all these like vitamin C tablets, and I like go home and take a nap, and I wake up and I'm like still more covered in dots, and I'm like, how long would it take from like eating vitamin C to like
Chowing down
ChatGPT, how
vitamins.
long does scurvy take
like,
to treat?
yeah, how like would I be seeing improvements now? And they're like, if you're feeling like nervous, maybe you should get some blood work done. And I was like, oh, I did have blood work done, and the doctor emailed the results to me. So, and I just like uploaded it to ChatGPT, and I went from like, ha ha ha, do I have scurvy, to you need to go to the hospital right now. And I was like, wait, what? And they're like, your platelet count on this blood work is dangerously low, and you are at severe bleeding risk. And I
Holy
was,
shit.
and I was just like sitting in my bed, and I was like, Jason, like, I was like, no way, like it's fine. And then it starts like putting all capital letters and like the ambulance emoji, like go to the ER, right?
Wait, and
That is not
meanwhile,
funny,
your
but like,
doctor had these results and hadn't said
It
anything
was
to
like
you.
over the weekend, right? So like it had gotten emailed to me on like Saturday.
Wow.
And I was like,
Because
Jason,
AI never sleeps,
this is like
baby.
so weird, but like I think I need to go to the ER like right now. So I'm like texting ChatGPT. I'm like, I'm getting in the cab. We're like going. And it's like you're doing the right thing. It's like cheering me on the whole time. And by the time I get there, I had a fever. And it said
God.
exactly what to say when I show up. It was like, this is what you say. Here is how you say it. So they like escalated me in. They drew my blood right away, and they found out by that point I had 0 platelets. Um, and like
Oh
a
my
normal
God.
person has between 150,000 and 250,000 platelets. Like that's like the range.
Oh
You
my
had
God.
I had
this many.
0. And if you hurt yourself, even like a bruise can lead you to like bleed out and die,
Yeah. Your
right? So
blood
like
can't
the
clot,
ER
right?
people did not understand what was going on. They ran my blood work again. They're like, "Don't stand up. Don't move out of this bed." And meanwhile, I'm just like in there like chatting with ChatGPT, like the entire. I brought my laptop. We were just like having a conversation. I was like feeling fine. But anyway, it ended up being like a pretty like extreme emergency, and I was in the hospital for like 3 days and needed like platelet transfusions, like an IV injection, like steroids. And I had gotten completely like stabilized before Monday morning, and my doctor finally responded to my email, and I was like, "You almost killed me, basically, by not checking your email on the weekend."
So
Yeah,
when Sarah said AI saved your life, that was a literal statement.
that's a literal statement.
I
Yeah,
was like, yeah, so funny.
Hasn't saved us all.
yeah,
Holy, that is a crazy story.
yeah. It was crazy.
That's
I
wild.
can see why you're like an 8 or 9 on the scale, also.
Yeah.
It's just like,
Oh my gosh.
yeah,
Also, I'm so glad you're okay.
Thank you. Me
yeah.
too.
I'm getting my low battery. I didn't want to like get up in the middle of the story, but I needed to get a
Whoa.
charger. I'm sorry.
Was your doc what okay, just while Sarah's doing that, what did your doctor say? Were they like, oh my God, I'm so
Were they
sorry?
like my
Like,
bad, my B?
yeah, like
Yeah,
Or were they like,
I don't go to him anymore. Um,
you're like, yeah, I fired him.
yeah, but it really
Well,
like shows how AI could give you agency, right? When the doctors aren't
yes,
there, when the humans can't meet you where you're at.
totally. And like, oh God, that's so true. Like at least arming you with more information than you would have otherwise,
Hmm.
so that you're empowered to make better decisions theoretically. I
Yeah.
know there are like,
yeah,
it's so interesting to hear that story because like so many, I mean, we the three of us probably share some of these articles with each other of like there's a lot of media content out about like AI resulting in really bad things. Like
Yeah.
ChatGPT told me to
yeah.
do this thing and it was like horrible. Um, but I'm I don't know if this is the case. My assumption is there are just as many, if not more, like very, very positive stories. Like people aren't sharing them and writing about them and covering them as widely. But that was very interesting. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. I mean, and that's why I think AI is also empowering a different type of person
Mm,
to have power and influence without money, access, and resources, right?
Mhm.
Like I have 2 young kids. My husband travels a lot. It's really hard for me to commit to just like a traditional 9 to 5 job on someone else's schedule. But AI is around the clock with me, whether that's before 6 a.m. when my kids wake up or after 8 p.m. when they go to bed. I can like get the work done in different periods of time. So
mm.
like knowing that there's like a different way of working that empowers a different persona of person to like step into this age in a different
Oh,
way.
Yes.
fascinating.
Yeah,
Yeah.
beautifully said.
So for the people who are like early in their journey of discovering how to build and code these things, what would you say to them? Like about getting
Yeah.
started, about
I think a lot of people, myself included, and this is the reason I'm now off Twitter, is there's just so much FOMO about
Mm.
new tools and new technology and the next big thing that you're missing out. That it, like, I think too many of us are compelled to use AI because we think we should. But until you are finding a real problem to solve in your life that you could use AI for, you're not going to find a use case that makes sense, that makes you want to learn. So I think you need to really start from this place of like, what is a problem I'm trying to solve? And how could AI help me build something with software to get me closer to solving that problem. And then you sort of find the tools that make sense for you. And then you sort of like kind of fumble your way through, intermediate level, hard mode level. But I think you have to start with like having a reason to build something.
Yeah,
Totally.
very cool. Well, thank you so much, Bethany, for joining. For folks that want to learn more about your classes and what about you building, where can they look?
Buildfirst.ai.
Great.
Nice. We'll make sure to include all relevant links and stuff in the show notes so people know where to find you.
Yeah,
Awesome.
and Bethany's newsletter is a great one, and her blog, you can really watch her learn. So highly recommend.
Thanks for having me. This was fun.
Thank you.
Yeah.
This was a blast.